Sovereignty is a sexy word, and it's a word that I love using, especially as the author of The Way of the Satisfied Woman. One of the things I talk about in this book is the power and importance of a woman rising up into her own sovereign throne as the queen of her world. Now, sovereign has a wonderful connotation in terms of this royalty and richness, but people often misunderstand it as being isolated. And if your version of power has become isolation, then ladies, this is your sign to soften. One of the things that our patriarchal culture tells us often is that we have to do it alone, we have to do it on our own, a lot of DIY culture, and that's not powerful for the feminine. The feminine loves collaboration. And in fact, here's one of the most powerful ways that the feminine actually likes to collaborate. And it's not by doing things for others. Feminine collaboration is calling people in. It's tapping into feminine receptivity. It's holding that space and container that we are allowed to receive in. If you think about how a queen operates, she's not mopping the floor around her or in the nitty-gritty of the day-to-day. She's sitting comfortably in her space, and her mere presence inspires those around her to cherish her, to serve her, to support her. In fact, her mere presence calls other people into their highest selves. You cannot be shrinking around a queen. You have to show up in your full regalia. And whether that's outer regalia or inner regalia, it doesn't matter. Think about how people in your world would show up for you if you were in your sovereign seat, calling them into their highest selves. What would you ask for them? This is one of the beautiful and most overlooked gifts of the feminine, is the feminine's ability to call others to rise. And specifically, I mean the masculine. If you can get your mind a little bit into the gutter, there is some metaphor there, right? The feminine calls the masculine to rise. There's something about our biology that's baked into our psyche that actually makes that true, even metaphorically in everyday living. When the feminine is in her power, when she's in her sovereign self, when she is sitting in her gorgeous throne, whatever that looks like, mine's leather, maybe yours is wood, maybe you envision it as being a gilded throne, put yourself in whatever chair most suits you. And that space calls others to rise. We get out of that when we collapse, when we let that receptive container deflate or get holes poked into it. And one of the ways we do this, one of the ways that our modern culture has tricked us into doing this is by pulling us out of our sovereign seat and making us think that we need to do everything for everyone else. Right? That we need to do everything for everyone else and ourselves. That's how the culture has defined independence. But that's not independence, that's isolation. If we can do everything for ourselves and everyone else, then we don't need anyone else, they just need us. That's a toxic form of masculinity that the feminine will wear in order to protect herself from the world. But really, it's not protecting us from anything. It's shielding us from what is most truly ours, which is this sovereign nature of receptivity. You know, women today also simply have a misunderstanding that if we need help, we're somehow failing. I think that's another trick. So many high-functioning women believe that if we suddenly turn around and ask for help, we're not doing something right, that we're failing in our careers, we're failing in our relationships. So we project this air of perfection as another shield of safety. And once again, it's not keeping us safe. It's depleting us, it's burning us out, it's getting us out of our feminine nature. And instead, true sovereignty includes discernment, delegation, intimacy, and interdependence. Discernment is the power of knowing what is best for you and what is not. There's a really wonderful mythology in the Arthurian legends. It's from the myth of Parsifal, where there's a certain line that says, every action has both good and bad results. all we can do is simply lean towards the light. That's discernment. When we have the power of leaning toward the light in all of our decisions, no matter how it may affect another, that's sovereignty. Women are often made to think that our decisions have to always benefit others, that we need to put them first. We're losing if that's the case. Make the decision that helps you lean toward the light, and you might be surprised at how that ripple effect actually goes. We have an assumption about what might be best for others. We assume, oh no, we have to stay in the bad relationship for the kids because it's best for them. Studies show it's actually not long-term. That the sovereign woman, mama, has to be happy for the family unit to achieve emotional intelligence and resilience. Amazing. So you as a feminine woman making these discerning choices of always leaning toward the light are actually most beneficial for others as well. Intimacy can only happen when we are in our receptive, feminine, sovereign space. Because if we're wearing the armor of masculinity, we can't be, here we go again, penetrated. And masculine needs to penetrate the feminine. Now, don't get too hung up on, you can get hung up on the particulars, but this is not a statement of gender or sexuality. This is a statement of energy. And every human has these energies in their psyche. And if you're a person who identifies with the feminine, then I'm talking to you, and that's what I mean. But the feminine needs to be penetrated by the masculine. But the masculine can't penetrate the feminine if we're not in our receptive femininity. In our sovereignty, that is where intimacy comes in, and intimacy is deep connection that is actually necessary for everyone on the planet. And it is the feminine that allows for it. We want it. They want it. So we have to relax into that feminine sovereignty, into that receptivity. And rather than independence, which really, as we define it by today's cultural values, it's isolation. Okay, independence has become to mean isolation. What we want is interdependence. We want dependence and reciprocity with our counterparts in this world. Women were not meant to do everything alone. Try it. Try it for any length of time. You will become burnt out so fast, a shell of yourself, a husk you don't even recognize if you try to do everything by yourself. Now, I'm not saying you have to jump into a relationship. You can create interdependence with family members, with friends, with partners, with intimate partners. Okay, I'm not defining how you figure this out or who you ask for it from. I'm saying ask for it. If you are not currently in an intimate partnership, ask your friends, ask your family members, ask your fellow women to sometimes lend you a little bit of masculinity. They have it in their psyche, right? You give a little to them, they'll give a little to you. Interdependence. Let's dismantle this patriarchal notion of independence, which has come to mean isolation, and instead trade it for interdependence, working with one another, allowing us to stay in our primarily feminine polarity, allowing them to stay in their healthy masculine. Everyone is going to shine in that way. So when we trust our discernment, when we trust in ourselves to stay sovereign, to receive, to call in the support, when we trust the support to arise and to arrive, this is where everyone does their best. This is where everyone does their best. And if you are looking for support, then I hope that you'll join me at thesatisfiedwoman.com. There I have a rooted membership just for women like you and me to rise together, to explore the idea of sovereignty, to be with one another, to lend each other a helping hand, to not overwork ourselves to death, to decelerate the pace of life and find our sovereignty and our satisfaction within. I hope you'll join me.